Good evening, dear hearts, and welcome to another episode of the Inner Dance Show. And supporting us in our return to sacred flow this evening is the phenomenal Wendy Robertson Fyfe. And Wendy devotes her life to ecological soul awakening and the shift of earth and cosmic evolution into new consciousness through the unraveling and dying of the old. And remembering ancient waves for new life with an animate earth community as ceremony. Participating in the dying rebirth process herself, she brings forth ways of soul guiding, poetry, writing, image making, soul crafting and rewilding and reimagining human. And she founded Earth Song Wave Dawn Chorus in 2018 and Abbey of Soul this year. She is a conduit between earth and human culture of the Kaliach's Eye. And I first came across Wendy during lockdown when she was doing an online offering. And I have to say, Wendy, it's such an honor to have you here. The 2 hour, the very short introduction to your work inspired me to really bring soul into my therapy practice, and your use isn't the right word, how you channel poetry and image making as your craft, I just found transformative in my own life. So it's a real honor to have you here on the show today. Thank you so much for being here. I'm curious how you are today.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me on your program. It's a real honor to be here and appreciating the work that you're developing at the moment as well, and possible links between the work to Inner Dance Scotland. So just wanting to honor you as well and to offer gratitude for what you're bringing to Earth and these times too. And I'm good. I'm looking forward to this hour together, seeing what we can stir and get flowing.
Absolutely. I'm enjoying the bird song in the background. It sounds like they're wanting to be part of this conversation too. That was really how lyrical. Anyway.
Yes, yes.
So Wendy, there's so much to your your practices, and I wonder if it would be really nice to maybe introduce the work that you do and how you maybe came about the work that you bring into this world, so our listeners can get a flavour and get a sense of who you are and how you do what you do.
Yes, it's a good place to start. And of course, I can never know exactly at which point to start, because it could go back to the first spark, as it were, all those years ago, of which we're kind of embodying in particular ways now. And I like that you can hear the bird song, because part of it is about including the voices of all the others, and not just being from a human-centric perspective. But if I speak maybe just a little bit about how this particular chapter stage of the work began, and it was in actually the 1980s. And at that time, having left school with practically zilch, because I really did not like school, that kind of formal education didn't suit me at all. But I found myself back in my mid-20s, exploring really the reasons why I didn't like education, and it was through cultural studies. And I went on to do a master's degree, and as part of that, I was doing feminist research, radical feminist research into the formation of the legal and medical professions, and how the legal and medical professions were formed along the redefinition of women's bodies, women's wisdom, women's roles, and that whole shift that happened during the 19th century, where women who were, for example, a lot of my work was in the kind of creativity, literally the life birth giving role of women, which kind of became known as reproductive, but I don't like that word even. It's kind of mechanical in some ways. But through that and showing the formation and the alliances of these two professions and the impact they had, I found that I was beginning to wonder, well, if that's not the truth as I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was, then what is? And I did my master's at Birmingham. And at that point, I returned to Scotland and I began wandering in the mountains and just wandering with this question, if that's not the truth, then what is?
Yeah.
And I found myself, of course, in these beautiful Celtic lands, um, going through the veils into another kind of experiencing of the world. And I know now that this, this isn't just me, many people, and maybe there's something that's happening in the earth that is enabling some kind of awakening to happen more. But these experiences, maybe I just speak a few of them. One was when I was wandering up in the Orkney Isles, and I found myself wandering up in the hills on Hoy, but I hadn't realised it was a nesting place for the great skuas. I mean, they're huge, magnificent, powerful birds. And I found myself in the middle of their nesting ground.
Wow.
And they started kind of dive bombing, but they never touched my head. They didn't damage, they just came swooping down. And I realized that whichever way I went, there were more nests, so more birds were swooping. And in the end, I was just looking at them in the eye, and they were looking me in the eye as they were swooping down. And I ended up just offering my hands in prayer to them, just in praise, in wonder at the power and beauty of these birds. And my learning at that moment, one, that there are places humans don't go.
Yes.
There are places humans don't go. And also, there was a deep sense of some kind of reciprocity going on between the birds and I that I hadn't experienced before, that was so intimate, that was so reverential, and actually, in some ways, both ways. The way they were swooping was
Mm-hmm.
also like a kind of meeting in some ways. And I thought, wow, there's something else going on here. And it was so profound. And another experience was I lived when I moved back to Glasgow in this bedsit room. And I had the window open, and one day a blue tit flew in the window. And so I just kind of cleared the window so it could get out, opened the window wide, and I just lay there and watched it. And then eventually it kind of swooped out and through the window. And about an hour later, it came back and just sat on the window. So then I went and got some nuts, a string of nuts. I was 3 floors up in a tenement block. And so I got these nuts. And it came back then with its family, with one other bird, and then all its chicks came. And I think I was there for about a year and a half. And this beautiful relationship in the middle of the city, again, was something that of, yes, a deep relationship and a kind of knowing. And then when I was about to leave that place, I left some nuts for them, and the window was closed, and I heard a tapping as I was just sitting there giving gratitude, and the whole place empty. And here was this blue tit, and it was literally tapping its beak on the window and then landing and then flying, tapping the beak on the window and then landing, and then the bird flew off, and then I left. And I was thinking, that bird knew I was leaving.
Yes.
And I was thinking, the intelligences of these other beings are exquisite. And I was deeply moved and touched. And I was with an, oh, right, so maybe I'm beginning to tap into another kind of truth about the world that we're living in, that we don't get taught in schools or universities. And this was kind of 1991 to 95. And I then was walking up by the Findhorn River in November 96. And by this point, I was so in love with the earth. I was so in love with the woods, with the river, and I was speaking with everything like it was alive
Mm-hmm.
and animate, and that everything knew I was there as well. So there was this beautiful, open, deep conversation going on. And I was really striding out in the flow, as this radio program, your radio program would say. And as I was returning, I just felt this kind of veily thing, energy across my lungs, my chest, like this rippling in my heart opening. And I just thought, well, that's weird, because I didn't know anything about these kind of things at all. I was so innocent, and maybe that's part of it, that kind of innocence. And I heard this beautiful singing in the woods. And I thought, oh, that's beautiful. There's a woman in the woods singing. How gorgeous is that? And then I thought, oh, actually, there's nobody else out here that I have been aware of. So being the curious woman that I am, I went back, and sure enough, this singing was so exquisite, like a voice I've never heard before, a female voice. And I went in through the trees, and it was November, so there were all the golden pines on the ground, pine needles. And but I couldn't see anyone. And then I thought, well, that's weird. So I was like, well, maybe there's a tape recorder someone's left at the base of the tree. But no, there wasn't. And as I kept listening deeper and deeper, it actually came from a tree, a little tree itself, herself. And I thought, wow. And as I stood there in complete awe, she stopped singing her tune and just sang 3 notes and then stopped. And I thought, wow, and she sang 3 notes and stopped. And slightly um, kind of cheekily, enchantedly, I sang the 3 notes after she did. And then she sang the 3 notes and then added 3 more. And I just thought, oh, wow, like this is just completely life-changing moment. And the only thing I thought then was like, it doesn't make a tune. It doesn't make sense, this. But I sang those notes, and she sang them again and then added a couple more. And I thought, that's a riff. And then I sang the riff. And when I finished singing the riff, the whole forest sang out in harmony of that riff. And it's like, how can I not in my life devote myself to that song? How can I not bring that into the world? How can I not speak of the true enchantment, amazing magic that is way beyond what our current day world would have us believe, and likely why we're in the mess we're in now? Because in some ways, I believe, both in my work and what I've heard from others, that this is what it is to be human as well, and we've forgotten. And so to be cut off, as it were, from something that is so earthborn in us, that how can we not be in grief? How can we not be in conflict when we're apart from what it is to be human in this way? And it was at that point, I was teaching at the Open University, and I just gave up everything, and I thought, I have to devote myself. I have to find a way of doing this. And I began having these dreams, and then wandering on the land with dreams. and finding that my dreams were kind of coming awake on the land.
Mm.
And so there was this other conversation going on that, again, I think is so close to the surface and is accessible to all of us when we open our kind of eyes and ears and hearts of perception. And yes, and I came across the work of Bill Plotkin and Animus Valley Institute and just completely dived into that. I had just such a strong calling to be able to guide in this particular way, this way that I had been open to. And in this way, we're open to what is uniquely ours to bring into the world. So it may be that you have a different calling in that, or a different uniqueness that is particular for these times that we're in, that in some ways we are all bringing the gift that is needed. And in our kind of conformist, codependent power over culture, it's difficult to have space away from these kinds of distorted mirrors in order to see and hear clearly who else we're born for to be and to remember. And of course, in centuries past, particularly for women, it's incredibly dangerous. It's a dangerous journey in relation to, we might say, the women who were burned as witches, because of course many of them weren't as well. But the sense of women's wisdom, women's own knowing place of earth, and the creativity and the kind of mystic psyche soul realms that are needed in order for culture to be renewed. And I'm thinking also of people like Marguerite Peretti, who was burned at the stake in, I think, the 12th century, exactly for, in some ways, speaking what I'm speaking. And that when we're in that conversation, there's actually no sin, because when we're one with God, mystery, Allah, whatever, we are with the God, with the mystery. And yeah, she got burned for that, and she attached her book to her body in order for that to, well, in fact, I think they attached it to kind of to burn the book, but it's still with us. It's many centuries later. But to be able to reclaim that is to go through all the shadowy stuff, all the layers of protections that we've had, in order that we can come once more to the truth, and to the truth of who each of us are. And in that way, this conversation with dream, with myth, with the more than human world, with the deep imagination, with the cosmos, with shadow. In some ways, this conversation is what wellness is.
Yes.
And it's so full and whole and rich and holy, that it returns us to our kind of ecological roots and aliveness in a kind of earth alignment,
Yes.
indigenosity. So that speaks something to how I got here and how I've developed that work, and how I guide people into that conversation, the deeper conversation that I believe we're all born for. And the ancient ones, of course, knew this, and are longing for us to return into this conversation.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think myself and listeners are having our own embodied experience of how you are speaking frequencies of truth. Your
Mm-hmm.
truth has a sound, and I can already feel my own sense of well-being increasing just by listening to your soulful and poetic journey, and how you have highlighted some key moments, some key invitations from the more than human world to come home.
Yes, yeah. And also in that, of course, it's interesting that I started out with looking at um, the human law and medical models
Mm,
and the professions of how that is. And where I ended, I think, is looking at the much, much deeper sacred laws
yes,
and the healing and revelation that is actually where life is renewed. So, yeah, I think it's interesting that I started by looking at the social structures and cultural forms of that time, and have now shifted that
mm,
into a way, way deeper knowing of there are deeper truths, deeper laws, deeper healings and revelations that take us somewhere else altogether, and which can renew, be alongside, be at home in what's happening in the world now. Mm-hmm.
yes. So, a lifelong inquiry and research into truth, and
Yes.
yeah, and
Yeah.
have just I'm so moved by how the birds and the trees and everything else has sort of revealed their truth to you, because you have gone in with open heart and
Mm.
open mind and listened really with your heart to the songs, to the sounds and the messages that they had for you.
Yes, and also the messages sometimes were messages, sometimes that they were revealing something of themselves,
Yeah.
that it's about getting to know who they are and what they're speaking. Otherwise, it can become like another form of extraction culture, where
Mm-hmm.
we're just extracting from the land in a different kind of way than. So it's about this true intimacy, this reciprocity of making offerings, of listening to what is needed, listening to the voices. And reminds me, Thomas Berry said, "We've become autistic to the voices of the others." I think it's such a beautiful quote. It's also heartbreaking. There's a lot of heartbreaking realizations to be with the grief of this as well. Can't kind of bypass or jump over the grief. It's actually part of the journey.
Yes, yes, and I hear how much you embody and validate that relationship is key. That, as you say, in the more than human world, they are seeking a return to the relationships that are our birthright, that they
Yeah,
want, as we deep down want and need as well.
yeah, yeah. There's a kind of calling
Yes.
for and a calling by, and it's quite exquisite. And that we're all called, in my experience, we're all called in particular ways that are unique to us. So every conversation, like the conversations you may already have had or have, will be unique to you. So it's this beautiful, on the one hand, the oneness of spirit with the kind of the unique, which is also one, unique, of soul. So it's quite stunning how that happens, this uniqueness and the oneness of all and the uniqueness, and how that creates a song, a symphony, like the trees did that day, that mirrored something also of what I am born to bring into the world. Um, mhm.
It feels like the birds in the background are in resonance with what you're.
I know, it's gorgeous. It's
It
just
is gorgeous,
gorgeous, isn't it? Yeah,
and
yeah.
and how appropriate that they are bearing witness at this conversation when they played such a central
Yes,
part in your own journey.
yes, indeed, and they continue to. Hmm. It is lovely.
So
And of course, they are some of the first to show the signs, like the canary in the cage.
yes,
I'm just imagining a life without birdsong. It's like, can you imagine?
um,
Ugh, yeah,
um, yeah, I think that just my breath just kind of stopped in my chest there for a moment.
yeah,
I don't want to imagine a world without birdsong, and
yes,
part of the grief for me as lockdown began to end and the ordinary busyness resumed was the birdsong began to reduce again and the birds began to retreat.
yes, yeah. It's stunning how the healing, the return can actually happen very quickly. But
Mm,
I think that can also happen with humans. I think humans, in a way, it's humans who are dying. It's humans who are out of tune with Earth. It's humans, in a way, who are needing the rewilding. There's a lot about the rewilding movement, which in some ways is also great because the rewilding then will also rewild us. But I think it's human development that, in some ways, is the problem. It's what we've done. And in some ways, I think now that actually it's love is in the depth of that, this return to the depth of who we truly are born to be. And it's such a deeply harsh and judgmental and conflicted world um, right now. So, yeah, in my experience, the grief needs to be felt, or what
mhm.
I've felt, and that the tears are necessary for our own reshaping, for our own rewilding, for our own feeling the. Um, I'm thinking of a wood carver, of canyons being reshaped by rain. Do they feel their own reshaping as well, the canyons in this animate world? Um, do we hear the trees that are leaving being cut down, the forest going? Do we hear the screams? And I deeply hear and resonate with all that's going on and all the voices of the others. Um, so it's an important part. Maybe there's a particular voice that's calling us, or a particular pain that is reshaping us.
Yes, yes, and just as you mentioned before, that we each have our unique gift to
Mm,
bring to life in this lifetime, that we also have our unique ways of listening and hearing
yes.
the unique messages from the more than human.
Yes, indeed. Yes. And they'll call us, particular creatures will call us, or
Yeah,
particular sounds or songs, or the bird agrees.
the bird.
uh, it's singing anyway. The bird singeth. And I think the other thing is that there's a sacredness. That's why I call it a pilgrimage, because it's a pilgrimage to soul. And of course, I've learned this too from my teachers. I've had many great teachers. I've been very fortunate, very blessed, and particularly Bill Plotkin and guys of Animas Valley Institute, amongst others. So I think we all need teachers as well as to teach, including the more than human. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And am I right? Are you the only person in Scotland who has trained and in this soul crafting work?
I'm the only person who's qualified as a soul initiation guide in Scotland currently.
Right. Okay.
There are some there's one in Germany, there's some others training down south, and also there are people qualified in the Wild Mind Professional Training Program. Um, and now guides who guide for Animus here. And in
Right.
Scotland, I'm the only person who has graduated. It's a
Wow.
long training. It took me 8.5 years altogether. So it's a proper apprenticeship with
Absolutely.
mystery. So I'm kind of able now to initiate others into the mysteries so that people find their own way. And part of my, I'm not sure if you're aware of that deep, the depth of the soul journey and the descent to soul, where we, if we're blessed, cursed, receive an image to live into the world. And part of mine was in Capitol Reef. And part of the image that I'm carrying is of my soul name, actually is Pia, P-I apostrophe A. And she's married to the canyon wall. So another theme in my work is this whole way of matrimony with earth, which of course is very powerful in the Celtic tradition, where the old kings and queens would marry the land first. And again, that reciprocity, that relationship with the land.
Yes.
And in a way, how can we not? And sometimes now I think that matrimony is more of a confirmation, because how can we not? We're breathing the breath. We're walking on the earth, lying on the earth. How can we not be so entangled?
Absolutely. That's so. What everything that you're saying resonates with me. But something of my own personal experience when I was doing somatic movement masters research, I was
Mhm.
researching a space, a particular part of a museum, and it very much was about the river and the land, and it felt like a death and a rebirth, and it felt like a sacred marriage that I'd gone through, sort of the Inanna or the Persephone myth. But when I was leaving the museum to in a blissful state after finally discovering a sense of embodied belonging, there were church bells ringing throughout the city. It felt like I was just leaving a temple,
Oh,
and
wonderful.
the world was
Yeah.
celebrating marriage, this sacred marriage. So it's really
Yes.
interesting that you're bringing that element in.
Yes. And of course, the world responds. This is the kind of
Yes,
true mirroring, as opposed to the distorted mirroring that the
yeah,
current culture offers. And whilst we're all kind of knotted up in that distorted mirror hole, it's difficult to kind of begin to see the truth of who we each are. But it's only as we wipe our own mirrors clean. And I think these days, in a way, it can only be done with the natural world. And I'm not sure even now if I say that, but the more than human. And when I say that now, I still wonder now, well, what is human? So it's almost like language itself is being re-articulated. Like the words need to shift. These words are part of the current dominant culture. So
yeah,
yeah,
yes. So there's
it,
something about creating a new language that is in resonance and harmony with the earth that we inhabit and are part of.
absolutely. For example, I think in even when I say it, nature-based cultures, they don't actually have a word for nature.
No,
It's not needed for
no,
that distinction. So
yeah, yes, they're not separate.
yes, yeah, and there are different relations in terms of the everyday reciprocity and beingness alongside and with, and reverence to and for. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's a really big shift in consciousness.
it is, and you are such an important part of that.
Mm,
I'm just as a someone in Scotland, I'm just so grateful that you're here doing the work that you're doing.
thank you. And it's interesting because and I'm going to be 66 in a few days, and it is a lifetime devotion. And I feel this urgency of really getting the work out there in the unique way that I offer it before I go. I think it's so important to live into these older years in a way that people can feast on this work, that they can learn from the work and find their own way in that. But it's important to own this experience that then can be passed down and through
Yes.
for future life, whatever that may be. We have no idea. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so passing the song lines down.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
beautiful.
I'm wondering if now might be a good time to offer the practice to us so that this can in some way begin to spread that vibration, to pass the song through these airwaves. And yeah.
Yes. Okay, so I was just thinking of a wee practice, and this brings together the kind of expansion of perception and also a particular way that might open each of us into our own song. Um, so wherever you are, just first of all, I'm imagining you're seated. So just let your sitting bones on the chair and have your feet on the ground and feel your roots, as it were, going down into earth. And as you're breathing in the sky, maybe breathing in the bird song that you can hear here, or maybe there are other sounds where you are, just allowing to breathe them in. And I'm just going to be speaking about, first of all, practice by a man called Stephen Gallegos, The Windows of Knowing. You might have heard of them, but it's about cultivating more our senses, our feeling, our imagination, and our heart-centered thinking. One way of working with them is in the 4 directions, but I'm not going to do that today, offer that today. But maybe where you are, you can just see something that's calling to you from wherever you are. It might be a flower, or it might be an ornament, or it might be a bird, or it might be a painting, or it might be a piece of fruit, just whatever is singing to you, like it's going, hello. So it's beyond your actually, oh, I think I'll choose this. It's more seeing what comes to you. And then, first of all, just touch this being. And touch this being as if this one knows that you're touching it, her, him, them. What's it like to touch? Does it feel soft? What kind of texture? Is the touch different in different parts of this being? And then the smell. How does this one smell? And does the smell change in different parts? Is it one smell, one scent? And what's it like to see deeply this being? That every detail, you might go very close up to the minutiae. You might step back or look at different angles. Might notice the different colors, maybe different colors in different parts. And then in feeling, what happens in your body? How are you feeling as you're touching and smelling and seeing? What are you feeling? You might have particular emotions that you're feeling, as well as what's happening in your body feeling, and in a particular place in your body. You may have a judge or critic enter. Just notice, and yeah, without judging the critic yourself, just notice. Return to what's happening, your feelings. Are you delighting? Are you horrified? Are you feeling disturbed? Are you feeling compassion? Just noticing. And then in your imagination, imagine what the being, whatever it is also feeling. Whatever it is, you might be surprised. Let yourself be surprised. You're imagining, feeling the other. And imagine maybe something between you, how this being is experiencing you, how you are experiencing them, it, him, her. And in this place, what kind of heart-centered thinking is going on there in your thoughts? Just let whatever arise. Without, as you say, let it flow. And opening to all four of those senses, listen in to whether you can hear a sound or a song there. And maybe you don't hear it straight away. Maybe if you can imagine the song of this one, what would the song be? Let your imagination free. Our culture is not one for deepening in our imagination or feeling world, but warm invitations, even if it sounds a bit strange, to let some notes of your response. Maybe if you can sing the notes that you're hearing, if that's possible, sing them out so that the being can hear that you've heard them. And don't we all love to know that we're being heard? Maybe the others are no different in that way. They too love to be heard. May sound a bit risky to sing out loud or sing out softly, but do so in a way that all of it makes a difference. Sometimes when I hear songs, as I do, if I have my phone, although I don't always recommend using the phone, but sometimes these days I'll record the song so I don't forget it. And I can remember all the different songs and I can sing them back to the particular beings. And there's something that I've experienced in others, that there's an aliveness that happens both in ourselves and in the world when we take time to be with these windows of knowing with another. They might not speak in words of English or French or whichever language, but you can feel it in your body. You can scent it, touch, color of expression. And then you might want to offer gratitude, offer praise, to feel your feet on the ground, rooted under you in earth, breathing in the sky. And then when you're ready, return to the conversation here between Caroline and I.
Mm. Thank you so much, Wendy. That was a really beautiful invitation into intimate relationship with a being that is calling to us. And I loved bringing my voice into this space and how I forget that that's actually available to me.
Yes, it's an important point you're speaking there. So often we're identified with ourselves in a particular way that we forget to offer this kind of way of being. And of course, I think my experience, our culture will do everything so that we do forget, that we don't have time. And of course, the work that I do enables us to offer deep time to this way so that we get to know ourselves within a wider context of Earth. Mm-hmm.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for holding space for us.
Pleasure.
I'm curious about the offerings that you have available at the moment for anyone who might be local, or I don't know if you do things online, but how might we work with you?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Yeah, I work both locally and internationally, and I work online with people, individually and with groups. And I also offer programs out in the wilderness. It's so important, as you were just noting, to take time away from the everyday so that we can bring back something that is uh, of the enchanted, the beautiful, the often horrible, actually, the monsters that we also find there. It's that kind of beauty horror. I'm thinking of David White. He has that line, something like, the soul lies contented by listening. Something that shifts in, if it wants to speak, it shifts. Now, let me just think of it. If it wants to shift in the beauty of terrifying shapes, it begins to speak. That's it. It's this, both the beauty and the terror of what we're releasing, of what's in the world as well. So it's good to have some time away from the day world, as it were, the everyday, to offer time. So the different ways that I work, I can work one-to-one online with various sessions. I have a 3-month individually tailored program, which is called the Currach, which is the offerings within a boat going down into the underworld, through the veils. So it's a deep holding over that time, of which there are particular sessions, but you also have access to me through that time as well. So it's a really, really deep dive. Some people do this before they do a kind of vision fast,
Mm-hmm.
um, where a particular 3 or 4 days is spent out solo on the land, which I offer as well. I also offer baskets of individual work over time. And I offer groups such as the She Tree, which is now in its 3rd year, the particular one, but I'll be starting a new group at the end of summer. And that's a group of 6 that works monthly. And it's like this, it's the slowness of it, actually. It's, our culture is so fast. This is about slowing down. And it's particularly delicious.
Mm.
And I've also got some offerings coming up. I have 2 offerings on the Holy Island, Lindisfarne in Northumberland, and one is on the summer solstice, the Saturday, the 22nd of June. So that's a day long. And of course, we have the full moon that day as well. So that's a beautiful time, unusually, to be with the full light and what might be revealed that has been hidden in that zenith moment, both of the world and in you. And then there's another day experience again on Holy Island, Lindisfarne, and that's for Lunasa, as we go into the period of the harvesting on Friday, the 2nd of August. And both of these days are crafting intimacy with soul. So very much about the kinds of conversations that I was speaking about at the start, through dream, counsel, myth, deep imagination, and the kinds of conversations that build as we begin to experience the uniqueness that there is a conversation going on, which is astonishing when we first experience that. And actually, it always fills me with wonder. And then there's an extended immersion of crafting intimacy with soul, and that's on the Isle of Ereid. Isle of Ereid is a sister place of the Findhorn Foundation up north.
Mm-hmm.
So it's on the Isle of Ereid, and that's over 5 days. and that's from Tuesday, the 3rd of September to Saturday, the 7th of September. And those offerings are there. So just contact me if you're interested in that, and I can send information. And I'm also offering your listeners up until the end of next week a free 30-minute taster session. I offer 30-minute just kind of exploratory about the work, but this is more like a real taste of the work itself. So you get a feedback and kind of mirroring of what might be um, happening in your soul, where your soul might be calling you, or the kind of conversations that might be just under your radar.
That's such a generous offer. I mean, I was thinking, right, I'll be getting in touch with you shortly, and then you offer this generous time and space to be a loving, clear mirror for
Mm-hmm.
listeners. So thank you so much for that.
Pleasure.
Really, and I'm sure that you will hear from some people for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope so. I hope I can meet people as well.
Yes, yes, and I imagine you just have the most fabulous conversations with lots of different people.
I have to say, I do. I love it. Like, how lucky, how blessed am I to be in these kinds of holy conversations
Yes,
that deeply matter and that increase our bandwidth and the depth of the dive of who we truly are and who we are born to be in the world. And
absolutely.
yeah, offer our gifts out. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. But anyway, sadly, we're coming towards the end of the show, Wendy.
Mm-hmm.
I could listen to you for hours. You really are a guide. My soul is so attentive and leaning in, leaning towards you. But,
Oh,
when we come to this point, my one of my pleasures is reading. I've got stacks of books. I've had stacks of books around me since I was about 2 years old, and I'm always looking to add to that stack. And I'm curious about a book that you might recommend to us as listeners that has inspired you in some way.
yes. I think the book I would recommend is Soulcraft, Crossing the Boundaries Between Nature and Psyche. I think for me, when that fell off the shelf, it was a revelation itself. It was another life changer because all the work that I was doing was here in this book. And so I felt like, oh, wow, there's something bigger going on.
Wow. So the
And
book itself is a mirror to you.
yes, absolutely. And it may be for you and for others as well. And it has been for so many people. And it certainly is a great guide for the way to go if we're feeling, particularly if we're feeling a bit lost, or like me when I was kind of, so if that's not the truth, what is?
Yeah.
And there may be a particular question that we each have as well that the book might help us dive a little deeper in as well.
Wonderful. Thank you for that recommendation. So that's Bill Plotkin, is that right?
Yes, Bill Plotkin. It's a great name, Plotkin. Plot as in land, kin as in,
Fun.
family.
Yeah,
So well named. Mm-hmm.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
and do you have any words of wisdom, your own or some that you have received at some point in your life that you could birth into song for us that we can maybe pass on that wisdom to others and ripple it out?
Well, I thought I'd actually read one of my poems.
Oh, yes, please. That would be amazing.
Yes, so this one is called Provenance. There is a truth deeper than the surface we have become, a truth like a seed knowing her own fruiting and the fruits of all time. Everything is in her beginning. Shed the surface of all you think you know now. Open your door so that the silent swoop of sparrowhawk may enter, grace your kitchen freely. Let this one of earth wisdom speak with your heart, who knows for whom the sparrow's song calls. Feel the aliveness of the wild once more in your own body as the sparrowhawk's lightning eyes, sharp talons, and ripping beak capture you. Feel her soft feathers as she tears her way below the surface of your deadening life. Greet the lion and cub walking towards you on the suburban concrete path outside your house. Let them remind you, invite you into a life this earth is dying for. Be caught by them, willing food for earth and her young. Don't hide at the surface, or worse, skin their hide as trophy on which to walk. Instead, walk on bare, sacred ground. Live provenance. Arise into a life born from the cosmic seed who knows her own, who knows her way. Break the surface open and drop your roots down into the deeper, tender truth of your own being. Trust the breaking. Come forth from your original depth as the wild one earth intended. Take your place among the aliveness of all life, seen and unseen. Psyche, sparrow, sparrowhawk, lion, cub, human, and all earth's wild ones remaining yet in the great cosmic Kanamina provenance. Thank you.
Wow, breathtaking. Oh my goodness.
Mm.
Thank you. I accept your invitation.
Yeah, beautiful.
Wow. Yeah, no, absolutely. So we've come to the end of the show. So what I'm going to do is do the official end to the recording. And if you'd like to hang on the line just for a few minutes, maybe somebody will have a question for you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so well,
Thank you for asking me. It's been lovely. Really
oh,
enjoyed it.
the honour has been mine for sure. It's just been delightful. Thank you so much, Wendy. And I shall share your contact details and your very kind offer on the chat for all of the members and listeners of the radio show.
Thank you.
But once again, dear hearts, we've come to an end of another epic, soulful journey into sacred flow. And thank you so much for being here. And until next week, take care. Good night.